What's going on, everybody? Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what's going on right here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do, and subscribe if this is what you're looking for. So I really wasn't planning on doing any type of streaming tonight. I was going to call it early, but I had someone who called me on the telephone a little bit earlier, and so we ended up jib-jabbing, and by the time I looked around, it was already 12, or actually, yeah, quarter till 12. It's now almost, 12:30? So since I'm still up, and I haven't decided to go ahead and knock off just yet, I figured I'd go ahead and get it out of my system. Now, obviously, I don't have to stream all night, but I'll put a little something together just because I'm here. So the topic that I was going to speak to, beauty entices manipulation. So what is the concept of beauty enticing manipulation? Said such is pretty much where you have an attractive person who is able to use said attraction for advantages for themselves, whether it be job, which is promotion, whether it might be for relationships, you name it, any and everything that they can use their looks for to get them some type of favor, they will do so. But before we get too far into it, you know me, I like to open up with some cuts. Let's go ahead and do this with the Busta Beat Rhythm Mix, Fair Use from Cyanide Sound System. Kick it off.
You're listening to Cyanide Sound.
Fair use.
Gunman style, big Ben spark up and last stick pan kite. Bossy boss head one go gunman file. Be a killer we part with from we are juvenile. How we are on the ground? What else? Badness, where them a say? How we have up here to set a guy, where them a say? Chain it a jip, bad clocks for a foot. We no listen boy, where you chat, where them a say? What else? Badness, where them a say?
Fair use.
Where them a say? Chain it a jip, bad clocks for a foot. We no listen boy, where you chat up, where them a say? We pocket no fracture. We're up to the time, just like the watcher. Cologne a thump, just like a boxer. Catch a gal in our net, just like a lobster. And Avara clean, just like the mafia. We a big team, big crew. When you see we put the bar on our foot. We not take liquor right near me now. We are on the ground. What else? Badness, where them a say? How we have up the artist set a guy, where them a say? Chain it a jig, bad class for a foot. We no listen boy, where you chat, where them a say? What else? Badness, where them a say? How we have up the artist set a guy, where them a say? Chain it a jig, bad class for a foot. We no listen boy, where you chat, where them a say? From who no ready for party, put your cups up. With the gal them a freaky and love up. And with the talk them well up, get them big up. Rich
money hard, no gonna no drive. We are walking go so hard and a chop up the line. Who gal in me bed and me fuck every night.
All right, let's go ahead and back this down and get down to the get down because I don't think I'm going to be here for too damn long. All right. So again, beauty entices manipulation. So at some point in life, we can all say that we've been around certain people that we know are attractive, and they know it as well. They know it to the point that if they know someone is susceptible to their appearance, maybe they may have some, mouthpiece game or whatnot, they can get whatever they are looking for. Now, some people may not believe this, but I have known people. Hey, what's going on, Zyrex? What is Nino's show just now ending? I left a little while ago, so I wasn't sure what was going on. I did say peace just to make sure that I didn't trample on them, but hey, thanks for showing up. Oh, excuse me. So as I was saying, we do know that there are people in this life who are attractive, and I have seen this. Hell, I've even been a victim of it myself, to include having used it. So I'll put it this way. What do we normally know about a level of attraction? We know that as long as this person does not tell us that they are not interested, we will always believe that, okay, and thanks for that, Zyrex. Hey, let anyone swing through if they still have time, if they want to, all right? So again, as I was saying, as long as that person that is attractive knows that other people are interested in them, they have something that they can use or barter with. The person who is attracted to that attractive person doesn't know if he or she has a chance. However, I'll say the beautiful people, they know who is susceptible to their charm. And as long as they don't tell that person, I'm not interested in you, they can always keep them on the hook. Like I said, I've seen this and I've even used this tactic myself. But let's look at this perspective. Let's go ahead and just grow it out for a minute. So what is the basis of said attraction? Now, when I say beauty entices manipulation, I'm talking about the halo effect. So what is the halo effect? Well, in layman's terms, and let's just be straightforward about it, the halo effect looks at it the perspective that someone attractive is presumed to be a good person because they are good looking. So as a result, this walks people into a corner, per se. Now, I had a conversation with a partner of mine, Trick Love. Yeah, that's right, partner. I said it. A partner of mine for almost 30 years or so. So he and I, in our younger days, have run some game. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, we've run some game. But manipulation was something that if you were, let's say from the perspective of looking at it from attractive, if you were attractive, you knew who wanted to get time with you. Therefore, you used it. Let's look at it from a perspective of a female. Exactly. Pretty privilege. So for a woman, it was called pretty privilege. For a man, it's a handsome handout. Both of them are two sides to the same coin, using your level of attraction to get something that you're after. So for a girl using pretty privilege, that means that she may know of a guy or a group of guys who all want to have time with her. And like I said before, as long as she does not tell this person, I'm not interested in you, she's got somebody who will help her find shit, fix shit, move shit. But this individual will never hit shit. Now, forgive my language here, but we're talking about he will never get some slide in. So no matter what this guy does, he will always think that he knows her best. So now we're talking about that guy who gets friend zoned. Now, when I speak of this man as far as friend zone, this is that guy in the friend zone who is her personal moving man, her shopping buddy. Oops. Sorry about that, Zyrax. But yeah, handsome handout. Again, that is for the men. Now, you don't really hear it spoken a lot, but there's always the equivalent of that. So it goes both ways. So again, pretty privilege is for women. Handsome handout is for men. So again, as long as this guy's in the friend zone, she's got somebody who's always going to be that dude who will help her move furniture, who will help her go out and find the perfect pair of shoes. Let's say if her car is broke or in the shop, there he is, showing up, drive her where she needs to go. Hell, this cat will probably even give her money if she asks about it. So this is a bad spot to be in, especially if you keep thinking to yourself, that's all right, one day she'll notice me. Sad to say, sometimes, more often than not, she does not, because while she knows she's got you on the hook to help her with what she needs, the guy who she's really down with is the guy benefiting. So let's think about this again. She calls the dude up that she really has an attraction for. Hey, what you doing? Yeah, I'm good. I'm just doing whatever I'm getting into, girl. What's on your mind? So she may ask him if he wants to come over because she does want to spend time with him. However, she's got some manual labor that may need to be done. So she's going to do one of two things. Either she's going to ask the guy she's interested in to come over and then let him know, hey, I got something to move. Can you help me with that? Or option B, she's going to have her friend in the friend zone who thinks that he has a chance with her to come by and move it. Why do I say this? Because there's an obstacle in her way. What if the guy she wants to kick it with says, no, I'm not coming over here to move any furniture with you. Move any furniture for you. Now, the other thing she has to worry about is if she does get him to come over and then springs it on him, hey, could you help me move this? And you don't know what's going to go down here because as far as he knows, okay, you're wasting my time. I'm not over here to be your moving man. So who is it that she can guarantee to get the work done for her? Yes, I do, Zyrax. It works both ways. Matter of fact, I'll explain that in just a moment once I finish with this particular scenario. So what I'm saying now is that she may not ask the dude she wants to really kick it with to come do that, because if he comes over and she says that and he pisses her off and he walks out, she's still got this furniture in place, but now she's lost the evening that she was hoping to have with my man. So what does she do? She calls her buddy over here. All right, so we call her buddy Steve. Or, I don't know, some type of lame name. But anyway, so she calls Steve up. Hey, what's going on, Steve? Yeah, I'm not doing too much. I've got some stuff I've been trying to move. I can't get it done by myself. We have a minute. Can you swing through? Steve says, yeah, sure, I'll do that. So Steve shows up and he moves furniture. But as soon as he gets there, she says, you know what? I've got something else I need to do, but my car's not working. Hey, can you give me a ride? Of course. So there you go. Now Steve's out on an errand. Now he may have had something he was planning to do that day, but because of the fact he's getting attention from the object of his desire, he'll put everything on hold just to do these things for her so he can be around her. Yeah, there are people in the world who've done this. When I was younger, before I really got put up on game, I was a dude like this. So I can say some of this from experience, but also having run it my damn self on girls. Anywho, what I'm saying here now is that Steve will lose his entire day. He's got stuff that he's got planned, but because of the fact he is so into this girl who does not truly want him, but wants him for the things that he can do for her, he will blow a whole day just taking care of what she needs, thinking that this is going to get him closer to her considering him for a relationship. Now, I know many of you will not even consider that or even think that this is even viable, right? Yes, this is simping beyond belief. But to the guy who's thinking to himself, yeah, that's all right. I'm showing her that she can trust me. I'm showing her that I can be here if she needs me. I'm showing her that I am around and ready to take care of things within a moment's notice. Oh yeah, he has put himself all the way out. So let's say that they spend the day where he moves furniture, helps her find stuff. He gets back to the house, helps her fix stuff. And then of course, now she's hungry. So we're talking about maybe 4 or 5 hours. He's already shot with her. Okay, so let's say he swung by about 12. They've been out and around since about 5 o'clock. They go back out. He pays for dinner. He actually will pay for dinner. And she says, you know what? I may want something later. Is it all right if I get a little something else extra? Yeah, no problem. Okay, cool. So she says, okay, I want to order such and such. Could you get this for me? I'll be right back. So old buddy sits here and he orders the food for her. He gets up. She comes back maybe about 2 or 3 minutes later. And they go ahead and they have dinner. The extra comes back from the kitchen. They wrap it up. They take it to go. So when they get back to the house, my man here is thinking, oh, you know what? Well, yeah, I had a good time today with, helping you do such and such. Said, oh, yeah, I appreciate it. I thank you for your help. And so my man's like, so am I coming back in? Oh, no. I would invite you in, but I have an early day tomorrow. Yeah, that's the line. She tells him, I have an early day tomorrow. So my man gives her the food that he just bought, along with thinking to himself, I've done all this stuff for you all day and I can't even come in. You know what? No big deal. It's not a problem. We'll work it out next time. You know that I'm here for you. So he walks away, gets in his car, and as he's rounding the corner, getting ready to, he sees in his rear view mirror some other dude from the cut, let's say, I don't know, the gym, the club, or whatever, but he sees somebody else pulling up in her driveway just as he's leaving. All right, so I'll say this again. So my man has blown his whole day helping her find shit, move shit, and fix shit. He even fed her, and she brought extra food back. All right, think about this. So dude parks his car, walks back around the corner, and enough time to see him get out, he walks up to her. She has the bag of food in her hand, gives it to him. He opens it up, sniffs it, kisses her. Then they go in the house and they shut off the light, at least in the front room. Again, dude, our boy Steve, he's helped her move shit, find shit, fix shit. But somebody else just showed up, got the food he bought, and is getting ready to hit shit. Yeah, So in that sense, can we say that beauty enticed manipulation, or better yet, she used her beauty to manipulate Steve to get what she wanted? Yes, she did. All right, that is pretty privileged right there. Now, that's not the only scenario that you see it in, but that's one of the examples that I can give. So you ask, what's an example of handsome handout? Okay, I'll give you the example. All right, so you are that dude that plenty of the girls know who are on the spot. You're in the area, you know who's interested in you. You walk into a room, you know the eyes are on you, you're in shape, you know you're a certain height. They know that other girls have spoken with you, had time with you, so the vibe is out for the most part. The trick here is that there's always going to be that pretty girl that says, you know what, I'm not going to fall for this. I'm not going to let you play me into a corner. But you don't have to worry about her. You don't have to work around her. There's always going to be somebody else who's interested. Now, the trick here is with guys, the girl doesn't even really have to be completely attractive. And that's the bad part about us as guys, because sometimes there's some of us who have zero standard, none whatsoever. But still, be that as it may, you always find that one that she's average, you know, she looks all right. But for the most part, you don't want to spend all your time with her. You just want to make sure that if you've got nothing else going on, she's available. All right, so you find that one girl. You start talking to her, you know, give her a little bit of conversation, meet her over at her room every now and then, maybe go to a movie or something with her. And then you start talking the game. So what you doing with later? Hey, can we get up? Let's go back to your room for a minute. Let's see what you got going on. You get in the room with her and you're thinking, yeah, she's a plain Jane. She doesn't really do too much, but you know what? Maybe I can go ahead and try this something because there's a girl I really want to get with who won't be around till later. And then this little funny girl pulls out some type of porn magazine or, you know, prom, whatever you want to call it, and says, hey, read something with me. Oh yeah, so now you're sitting there looking at this magazine like, okay, girl, I didn't expect you to be someone who reads this type of stuff. But she says, oh yeah, I do some freaky things. Yeah, and you roll up on something like this. Now, granted, you're not looking at trying to hang with her right about now, but you know for a fact, if I can't do anything else anywhere, this girl's going to be available. So what do? You put a rain check down and you actually go out and holler at the girl that you really want to get with. But you know that you've got someone in the back wings that if you can't get anything going on, she's always going to be ready. So the handsome handout starts working this manner. So you happen to be out someplace at a club. You tell her, hey, why don't you meet me over here a little bit later? You get to the club, she gets there, and you decide, you know what? No, I don't want to be here. Matter of fact, let's head back to your room. She's like, when? I just got dressed. Yeah, I know you got dressed, but you want to spend some time with me, right? Yeah. And you head back to her spot. Now, of course, you know you're not into her, but you just want to get some time with her just to prove that you could get her to do whatever you wanted to. All right, so this is a rat bastard type of move, right? But again, this is the handsome handout. She wants to spend time with this guy, so she'll be sure to make herself available to do that. So you get back to her spot. You say, you know what? Hey, I'm hungry. Can you cook something? Because, you know, she may have something in the room that she can cook. All right, so she goes ahead, flours down some chicken, she gets some grease, you know, makes some food for you to eat. And then like an asshole, the dude goes to bed. So she just spent all this time cooking. She got dressed to go out. He made her come back. And then now he's in bed asleep. But you know why he did that? Because she's not going to fuss about it, because he'll get up later, maybe get something to eat. And he's good with it. Now, she may be a little bit sore, but she won't mind because he's in my room. Handouts. It's the way it works. Now, of course, the problem is that she is now on the hook. I used to call this the emotional beeper, which means that you've got somebody who's put a beeper on your hip that makes you available anytime they want you. But it only works if that person is who you want to be with. Now, again, the attractive person in the scenario is the guy. The girl, maybe not so attractive, but still, she knows that he's interested in me. But here's the thing now. Here's what that sneaky link comes into. He doesn't really want everybody to know that he's down with it like that. She's just something that he does if the girl that he really wants to get with is not available. But what happens if you have no true control over the situation? Now, with girls, they always make the statement, look, you say anything to anybody, hey, this is over. We're not doing this anymore. Now, what you have to keep in mind is that you may try that with a girl, but the problem is that as a female, if she knows that she's got folks interested in her, even if she is not the most attractive thing, she will think to herself, well, you know what? I want to see if I can get so-and-so to be jealous about what's going on right here. You're not paying me any attention. Let me go kick it with somebody else. So you let her go. But the problem here is that once she goes and tries to put your game out, now everybody knows you messing with that sneaky link. Marcus, what's good, man? Not only friends on him, but ashamed of that very friend. Yeah, that's how it'll sometimes work. Because even though you've got her friend zone, you don't want everybody knowing that she is in a particular zone for you. Because if there's a girl that you truly want to spend with and get with, if you're not watching what she's doing, she can blow that whole thing up. When I say she can blow it up, I'm talking about that sneak link you got in, that you're pretty much manipulating just because you can. Now, this girl is going to think that he's really down with me, but no, you're not. You're just using her because sometimes you want food, sometimes you want a little tail, some slide in, and sometimes you may need a ride somewhere. She's good for that. That's all that you look at her for. But she thinks her role is more. This is the difference when you're dealing with guys. Or should I say, when the girls are dealing with us or dealing with the guys. We know that if we make a mistake or say too much, hey, we may get cut off. Even the most unattractive girl who you may be playing games with, and I learned this from experience, she will still think her role is more than what it is. For example, I remember I was toying with a girl similar to what I'm talking about right now. I was out at the club one evening and she gets there. I mean, not the most attractive girl out there, but I do know that she's into me. I've had her do things for me just because I knew what the relationship was. She was in my zone at this particular point in time. So I noticed while I'm standing up on the stage talking to the DJ, she's in the back of the room. And I noticed she's pointing up to the stage towards me. Now, again, she's my sneaky link, so I think. She's just someone that I can get with when I can't find anything else going on, or the girls that I want to get with are unavailable. She's up there pointing at me. So I noticed now some girls are talking to her and looking back up in my direction and looking at me like, so I need to get down here and do some damage control. So I get down there, come to find out that she's been telling folks, and even some guys who are trying to walk up on her, oh no, I'm with him. I never told her that. Now, remember what I said before when we were talking about the first scenario where the girl was clowning with the dude we call Steve? As long as she didn't tell him, you can't be with me, everything he did for her, he presumed that it was a way that he could be with her. Now, the difference was that old girl wasn't sleeping with Steve. Me, okay, yeah, I was a raggedy dude. I was sleeping with this chick. But she was not my only one. But I didn't tell her that. That was my mistake. And like I said before, not friends on the chicks left and right, John. Zarek, I was a young man once. I'm not going to lie about it. I've played games, but I've also had games played on me as well. But as you grow and you mature, meaning that you get old enough to leave some shit alone, you learn from that. I'm just talking about a phase when I was under 30. So yeah, I acted a straight damn fool. But I knew I could because I knew my level of attraction would get me by. Now, granted, she wasn't the only one. So I had girls up and down the A12. Now I'm talking about, this is when I was a young man back in Bentwater, RA Bentwaters. This is back in the early 90s or so. So it's nothing better than being a GI in the United Kingdom in that time frame. And a lot of us who had cars, we had girls in the local surrounding areas. You had Ipswich, Colchester, Lakenheath, Mildenhall, Bury St. Edmunds. This was an area which I don't expect anyone here to really know, but I'm just letting you know that these are just places where a lot of us would travel around to other bases, meet other girls, and then you'll run whatever type of game you were going to. Now it gets to be expensive after a while. And sometimes you also realize that the expense you're paying, hey, it comes back in you twofold. But in this particular instance, here's how it got me. So as I said, this girl was telling folks, oh, I'm with him. I never told her that she was with me. Again, because I did not tell her she was not my girlfriend, she made the assumption that she was because of all the stuff that I was doing with her when I couldn't catch up with the other girls I wanted to be with. Yeah, I'm wrong, all right? I'm wrong for that, Zyrax. I beg for your forgiveness. All right, so Beth, we'll just call her Beth. You know, Shaquina, whatever makes it work happy. I'm just gonna say Beth because that's the first thing that came in my mind. So Beth is the chick I'm really after. So I see her from work one day. I'm coming home. I slide by and try and roll up on her. Yo, what's going on, girl? What's good? So what you got going on for the weekend? She said, well, I'm gonna go with so-and-so and do something. I thought about doing something with you, and I started smiling, but she said, but then I heard you were doing so-and-so with what's her name? What? I appreciate it. But yeah, I had told what's her name, yo, don't you go around telling people nothing. But the problem here is that Beth was attractive. All right, we're talking about you know big boobs, big ass, snatched waist, flat stomach, in her prime at the age of 23 back then. I was on the docket to get in. And old girl blew my mess up because Beth had asked the question, hey, what do you know about John Henry? She said, oh, yeah, he and I are kicking it. Blew my shit up. But that is one of the risks that you run if you're going to play with people's emotions. Because if you don't tell them where they stand, they're going to assume that it's more than what it is. But if you do tell them where they stand with you, then you lose the opportunity. Again, beauty entices manipulation. I'm not saying that that is a positive thing. I'm just simply saying that it does attract. It does attract people your way, and you can either use it in your benefit, or you can be the good person and say, no, I can't do this because I don't really care for you like that. Now, that is something that I will leave right there. I've given you two examples, one of pretty privilege, one of handsome handout. Does it happen? Yes, still does. But think about this about manipulation. It's not just attractive people that can have manipulation work for you. Now I'm talking about on a scale of 1 to 10. Now I can't recall if I've given you guys my scale, but I'll go ahead and give you John Henry's version, all right? So 5 is average. 6 is attractive. So again, I've told you, I consider myself a 6, no more, no less. I will never be over that. All right. This is just how I look at it. Now I've said to you guys many times before, if you count my shows, value has no worth unless it's agreed upon. However, we all get what we qualify for. Sometimes you can talk a good game and you can be convincing. Who's heard me say that as a man, I can't take from a woman what's hers. I can only convince her why she should give it to me because I'm a salesman. And in the end, persuasion is the only tool that I have in my box. But ultimately, we all make choices. All right, so let's make sure we understand that. Let me go a little bit further. A woman knows who she's looking for before she gets out of bed. If you get her attention, it's because you're either the guy she's looking for or you are an attractive alternative until what she really wants comes along. But even then, you really can't be sure. Rest assured, though, folks, a woman will never be cold, broke, or lonely unless she chooses to be. However, a woman can be cold, broke, and lonely based on how she chooses to behave. So there's a positive and negative for both male and female. Yeah, I've got a couple of shorts floating around on the this here internet, especially on YouTube, about some of the bars you say that I'm dropping right about now, Zyrex. I may do another show here that will look at 6 particular things that both men and women need to consider while dating. Right about now, I've got a couple of shorts that are out there. If I get a chance, I'll go ahead and drop them inside the description after we finish the live stream. So going for what I was saying here, manipulation is not just something that attractive people can do. Manipulation works for anyone who has a goal and they're looking to benefit based upon what other people want. All right, so check this out. All right, appreciate it, Zyrex. Check this out. Put a 1 in the chat if you can think of whether it was in high school, college, or just any type of surrounding. Think of a group of girls that were always out. They were always together. You know, we'll say that they're attractive, right? So let's go from again. Let me finish the scale. 5 is average, 6 is attractive, 7 is pretty/cute, 8 is beautiful, 9 is gorgeous, and 10 is an extraordinary beauty. Now, I say extraordinary beauty because I get tired of listening to women. Now, this is not me dogging on you gals, but we all know these types, right? A woman who is a solid 4, but because of her feeling herself, let's say, she looks at herself a certain way. Well, I'm a 10. Who told you I was a 10? I don't need anyone to tell me that. I just know I am. Now, we do have some guys who are delusional like this also. Oh, yeah, cuz. You know, he's missing teeth, he's overweight. But we can say that to a guy as men because we're direct. We're more in reality like that. But if you say that to a woman, it's a shaming thing and it gets to be out of control. But girls, you know what I'm talking about, right? So we don't even have to go in that. So as I said before, you've got that one person who always seems to believe, I've got men always just all on me. And you're looking at it and you're thinking, what type of men do you talk to? Now we'll be honest, at least I'm going to be honest. I have seen a trend now where you have, I guess they call this the silhouette challenge, right? I came across a video where there was a girl who was in the doorway who couldn't have been anything less than 200, maybe 300 pounds. You could tell by looking at her that she was extremely heavy. So she drops this blanket and there's this type of, you know, some type of music playing, right? And she is every bit of this doorway. One cheek against this side, one cheek against this side. It looked like she had to turn sideways just to get it all in. And she is jumping up and down. So all you see is ham hocks, all right? Bouncing like 2 midgets fighting in a garbage bag looking for leg locks. You know, I mean, it was just like 5-year-olds, you know, slapping hands with each other. At least that's the bit you could make out from the video, right? Even though it was a darkened door. Again, I think it was called the silhouette challenge. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, does she have any idea what she looks like? Of course she does. In her mind, she looked good. Yes. In her mind, she looked good. You might even say that she was cholesterol challenged, but we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it where it is, right? But nonetheless, the thing here is what I'm saying is that in her mind, obviously, she felt, hey, I am fine. And you know what? She probably is because there is a market for that. there are people who are into that. Now, for others who are not, it's just a sight to be held on your RSS feed. I don't know why I got off on that, but just to put you out there is that there's a certain thing when it comes to attraction that if we don't tell people what they presume they are, then they're going to believe it. The mirror, for example, does not give a damn about your hopes, your dreams, or your aspirations. It just shows you what's there. And individuals who are not, individuals who don't have friends who are going to be honest with them will carry certain thoughts. But then again, you have people who say, I don't care what you say, I'm good where I am. But value has no worth unless it's agreed upon. Always keep that with you. No matter how you look at it and you bill yourself as I'm this level of attraction, if you do not have anyone standing in your direct space who is reciprocating what you're telling them, giving back to you what you feel that you're giving out, then your value is not being met. It's not being seen. Or should I say, it's not being returned. All right. A fair exchange is not a robbery. I'll leave it like that. So as I was saying, imagine that you got this group of girls. You got all the girls out there. We'll say that they range from a 5 up to a 7, and you've got one legitimate 8 in the crowd. All right. You've got one legitimate 8. Now, I've seen this for myself. I'm giving an example of what I've seen. So we're going to call the girl in the scenario who's running the crew. We're going to call her Jane. Jane is maybe a 5, maybe she's an adjustable 5, 5.5, maybe a 6, depending on how she does her hair. But she's mostly a good solid 5.5. You know, decent looking, little bit of extra weight to it. Not too bad, but still, she is the person running the crew. So if you want to talk to any of the girls inside of the crew, you had to go through Jane. Now, for whatever reason, even the most attractive girl in the crew, she listened to Jane. Can't figure out why. You've got a legitimate 8 listening to an adjustable 5. Now, how does this even come to be? Well, years later, after finding out, this legitimate 8 had some, I won't say sometimes, she had insecurity issues. They weren't great, but she had a few of them. At least this is what the word on the street was. But that didn't necessarily mean that she actually was unattractive or whatever. I don't know what the issues may have been, but for whatever reason, she's over here listening to this 5. But if you wanted to talk to her or any of the other girls, you had to have something to barter with. So you'd have it literally where Jane would say, well, hey, oh girl, that's my friend. So if you want to talk to her, you know, you're going to have to do such and such, you know, hook me up. Yeah, it happens like that. Now, I'm not saying that my situation that I'm speaking of is the only situation, but that is how it will happen. You've got a crew of girls, and if you try and talk to one, oh, no, you can't talk to my girl. Why not? Well, I'll tell you what, I can put in a good word for you. What you want me to tell her? So now you're passing messages through Jane to talk to this girl. She's not the most attractive thing, but she is able to slow your flow. All right, she can slow your flow in what you're trying to do. She can keep you from getting where you need to be unless you do something that she wants. Once again, this is manipulation, but this is not the halo effect. This is just bartering to get what you want because you know what somebody else wants to get to. You don't have to be the most attractive person in the world to get what you're after. Some folks even call that extortion. All right. Well, like I said, this was not going to be a long show here. This was just something that was on my mind that I wanted to share with folks. So if there's nothing else here, we'll go ahead and peel out. But before I do, Zyrex, you still there? I'll go ahead and wait for a couple of seconds. All right. So before I bug out, girl, are there any other questions that you may want to ask? I pretty much said what I want to say, but if there's a question that anyone wants to put out, by all means, let me know. Or even that, Zyrex, did you want to come up here for a minute if you wanted to ask me anything direct? Here, let's do this. Like I said, I'm clowning. I never really had anything that I was planning on doing. So let's go ahead and drop the link in there. So if Marcus, same thing, same to you, man. If you're still here, hey, swing up if you want to. Zyrex, go ahead and hit the link if you want. Yeah, I'll go ahead and hold out. If you have any questions, we'll go ahead and just throw a little bit extra in here. Let's go ahead and make it fun. All right, excuse me for a second, folks. We'll be right back. Hey, Zyrex, I'm only going to be about 30 seconds. So go ahead and hit the link, and I'll bring you up. Let's pump that background for a second.
Everybody's talking all this crap about.
All right, fair use, fair use.
Just don't let me live. Tell me why.
Yeah. This is the Rush the Beat rhythm mix. Fair use, fair use.
They say I'm crazy, and they even said I'm while I'm living under girls them way.
Take it down. Damn, Zyrex, what'd you do? Swallow your earpiece or something? Hey, Top Cat, if you're watching this, I thought you were probably still up, but hey, it's almost, oh shit, it's after 1, so I figure you may have gone in for the night. And always, if you don't make it here for the live show, we know that the replay game is going to catch hold of this. Don, haven't seen you in a couple of shows. Give me a shout out in the comments if you get a second. Oh, and here she is. Hey, Zyrex, how are you?
Hi, John. How are you?
Yeah, doing fine here. You know what? I don't think I've ever seen your face. I've only seen the avatars.
Yes, I don't cam up.
Okay.
And there's a reason why, and it's because this space is, just YouTube in general. They're vicious, and so.
Well, I don't know how many people from Nino's show or any of the other shows come here, but one of the things I do say that folks need to know when they come over here, that my platform is generally, like I've said before, is for some of us more seasoned adults. So I look at it for folks over the age of 45 per se, but primarily 50 and above, because of the fact that there's no congregation space that a lot of us over 50 have to come and have a discussion where we're not called old ninjas or everyone's trying to have a fight with it because, oh, you're trying to sun me. No, we're not sunning you. But at the same time, I'm not openly going around volunteering information in places where I know will not be well received. So as a result, that's why we have a value conversation Gen X spoken word that's put here for some of the senior folks to include now with Top Cat, Chicago Rilla, and myself. We've got the Council of OGs, or should I say original gentlemen or old school gentlemen with old school guidance. So this is a place that you don't have to worry about a lot of or any harassment per se. Yeah, I don't get traffic from a lot of folks from Hamp Show, from Fantastics, or Beans, anybody like that. So this is pretty much still a sterile space.
Well, that's very nice to hear. Well, the thing is that I don't mind like pushback or anything, but it's the I guess in a way it could be in insecurity and and for security reasons because I have kids, and so that's mainly the reason um why I don't cam up. And also like I want um like a lot of times like in this space they always go, when they don't like what you say, they'll go, cam up, let me see what you look like. And it's like, I want my opinions to sort of matter. If you have if you disagree with what I say, it shouldn't matter how like what I look like. You should be able to push back or retort what I say. And so yeah.
Well, again, there's nothing wrong with everyone having a difference of opinion. Normally,
Hmm.
when you start hearing cam up, not saying that you are that individual, but that's going to be because you have an individual who has, let's say, transgressed the line of conversation. So if we're having a conversation about how somebody looks and what they either deserve or what may be in their range, you do have people, as I was explaining before, that will say they happen to be punching out of their weight class, but they talk as if they're in that weight class. Now, that
I
doesn't mean that
understand.
it's everybody. So no one should be looking for an aggressive confrontation with or aggressive confrontation with someone who's speaking to their own experiences that is speaking within a boundary that they occupy. So I will agree with you on that point. Definitely.
Yeah, I understand. Like I totally get what you're saying.
Mm.
Um, one of the well, first I wanted to ask you, do you believe that beauty is in the eye of the beholder? That we although like I may see this person as attractive, then the next person may not, and so therefore when you like how like what like I guess you could sort of say we all have different metrics or to how we view beauty.
Beauty will be in the eye of the beholder. However, we all know when we see a certain person walk down the aisle or walk down the street, we know what attractive is. As a man, as a woman, we know what attractive is, whether it be a man or a woman. But then there are those folks when you hear the statement, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What I like to instead say is that you have somebody who is an acquired taste. Does that sound right? Do you see the correlation to what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I think of when I hear people say that, well, beauty is subjective and in the eye of the beholder. So yes, when I hear that, I immediately think, okay, this person is an acquired taste. Whereas I looked at you before, I wasn't really feeling you, but after looking at you more times and just looking, seeing you in different angles, yeah, we can work something out. And then those people actually turn into a couple that you find a level of devotion that may develop. Whereas initially, I wasn't really thinking about him as what she would say or he would say. I wasn't really looking at her like this. But as we were around each other more and more, we developed something. They're able to look at faults and dismiss certain things. So again, I would say acquired taste if we're talking about the statement, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Does that
Okay.
answer your question to a degree?
Yes. Yes. And so, do you believe a person that's more attractive is more likely to manipulate, or a person that's less attractive is more likely to manipulate?
If the person who is
Hmm.
attractive knows their level of attraction and knows others find them attractive, then they are more likely to. It's like saying, how do you win games? You win it through defense or offense. Well, you can't win the game unless you put points on the board, right? So therefore, manipulation is not going to be achieved unless the attractive person utilizes what they have in their favor. Because let's be honest here, the person who is attractive has the ability to manipulate if they realize that people are interested in what they could possibly have. Now, when you're talking to someone, you can always tell when there's a level of attraction. Let's say if you're looking into someone's eyes, you may see a dilation of the pupils. You may see or hear the breathing. You may see some type of swallowing. You may see hand movements. If it's a girl, she may move her hair back, or she'll be focused and keened on your words. For a guy, we'll maintain eye contact innately, real intense, not enough to where it's stalker type, but still we'll look to a degree, and we'll just capture every point of her face. I may go from the chin, again, always checking the eyes, looking to see if there's any type of hand movement to see if the attraction is actually there. Now, it could also be something as simple as, let's say, if they're not interested, she may look away, she may pick up her phone or be distant in conversation. What did you say? But if you've got someone who's listening to your words and they're looking at you, it's one of two things. They're interested, or they want to give you the impression that they are interested. Generally, you're never going to know until you see actions that back up the conversation. Or this is where you get people saying that, well, I hear what you're saying, but why don't you show me? But overall, yes, I think the attractive person is going to be the person to initiate manipulation first and more often.
Do you believe there's different ways to attract a person other than beauty, or looks, I guess?
That's going to now depend upon who has more of a level of interest. I mean, that's as best as I can say it. It doesn't. Well, I don't want to say it doesn't. It will matter when it comes down to who shows interest first or who shows more interest. Does that make sense? Just to make sure I'm not muddying the water here. Now, if I am, please ask me to clarify a little bit further. So
Yeah,
let's
you can.
let's say there's a girl. Because again, as a guy, I'm not going to be chasing anyone but girls. That's just what I do. So there's a girl that I'm interested in. I'm attractive enough to where she's shown interest in me. However, she's attractive enough to where I'm not the only person that is interested in her. But the question may be, am I the guy that she really wants to spend time with? Or am I just a guy that, even though she finds me attractive, maybe I might be boring? The other guy might be attractive and not boring. Or, flip it around, I could be the attractive and entertaining guy, and the other guy's attractive but boring. So what makes the difference here on who she decides that she wants to spend her time with? It's just going to depend upon whatever mood she's in. Now, if we're talking about her being the desired object here, if we talk about attraction, again, if she is attractive and he's attractive, but let's just say that her attraction is a little bit more, she's capable of attracting more people in her zone than he is, the guy who is attractive may end up being that attractive friend. I find you attractive enough to where I like being seen with you. I like going out and doing things with you. Maybe you might get a little bit friends with benefits, but I'm not really going to dedicate too much time to you.
Okay. No, but I'm sure, well, from what I've seen, men for the most part, looks is, they don't sort of see personality as like as if like an yeah, they don't see it as like an attraction, right? The personality. They just, because I guess you guys, as people say in this space, that you guys are visual creatures, and she just has to look good. If she has a shitty sort of shitty attitude, depending on how much you guys like the chick, uh, depending on how much you guys like, will sort of that shows, I guess, your tolerance level, whether you'll like put up with it or not.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes. There's a level of tolerance. So yeah, depending upon how bad I want to get to her. Let's say that she's the new girl in the spot. Let's say I was in the dorm a lot when I was in the military, when I first came in, up until about my 6th year in the military. So let's say you got the new girl in the dorm. Now, she's attractive, but she's problematic sometimes in the way she speaks to people because she knows she's attractive. Because every dude in the damn dorm has been hitting on her. So she knows that there's a level of attraction that she has that people want. So therefore, you may get some type of attitude from her because she knows what people want. Now, out of all these guys chasing after her, somebody's going to be the one, either because he is what she's looking for or he's accessible to her because, there's not anyone I really, really want, but this guy will do. But nonetheless, the thing here is that there will be some stuff that you will put up with as a guy, just so you can say, I got to it. Sometimes it's just a race to see who can get there first. But attraction does play a part to it. But if she's attractive and mouthy, yeah, we'll still put some time into it until we don't want to anymore. Sometimes attraction doesn't have to be a part of the puzzle. Maybe it's the fact that we just want to experiment. And this girl looks like she might be a willing participant. Now, let's not look at it from the standpoint that he's just getting out of it what he wants. No one stops to think is that this little average looking girl, she might be a straight up freakily. Now, I've seen this also. And I say that from experience too. Don't let this plain looking girl fool you. Just because she's not that cover girl out there doesn't mean she won't curl your toes back and put you out sleep for a couple of hours. And I'm telling you right now, that is probably some of the best experience that you're going to come across, because what you have now is like a hidden gold mine. Nobody else knows except you. Like, yeah, I've seen her. Yeah, she looks all right. She's kind of plain. Yeah, she is. Just make sure nobody else rolls through. But did I answer your question initially, though?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Please ask away.
One of the things, I've been in this manosphere space for about, I would say, 4 years, and it's very disheartening when I hear, the men say they don't want, marriage anymore. That these women, they lost hope in these women. Do you see? Is it true what they're saying? Do you also see that?
It is not true, because you have to look at which particular space that you're sitting in and also the people that you're speaking to. For example, there's a show that I've been meaning to do for a while. I told Fatty about this maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. We just never gotten around to it. But I told him that I wanted to do a show about red pill, not this distorted red pill that you see right now, and to where you're hearing what you're hearing. Oh, yeah, men don't want marriage. Only simps want to get married. Well, there's a bit of a turn here where even some of these red pill guys are starting to say that, yeah, men do want to be married, but only if you are this, and this. So I'll put it right now. I'll put this down right now. Men still want to be married. So don't believe this hype whatsoever, all right? They still want to be married. The question is, the crowd that you're having the conversation with, do they believe that men still want to be married, or do they even want to be married? You have to look at where you are. So if you're in that red pill space, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get this nonsense. Oh, man, hey, only a simp gets married. There's too much that you can lose. I mean, yes, you are looking at the possibility of, if you get married, it doesn't work out, that she gets the house, she gets the car, she gets the kids. You get all that. But the thing is that you also get a choice on whether or not you want to marry that particular person. That's the one thing I don't hear people talk about too much, is the element of choice that goes with that. Now, at the same time, I'm trying to think of a song. If I may ask, Zyrex, now I don't mean to be offending if I am, but how old are you? I'm going to say this because based on that, I can think of this song that may be something that may resonate with you. Again, I'll be 55 next month. So,
Well, I'm in my late 30s. I'm reaching 40 soon.
all right. So that means that you're probably a millennial. You were born in what, 84, 83, so in that
Yeah,
time frame?
yeah, mid
Okay.
80s. Yeah.
All right. Mid 80s. All right. So cool. So that's about right. So there was a song out that was called A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. Now, the basis of that song is that you've got a woman who loves a man who is just not treating her right, but she's still coming back to him. But there's one particular line in the song that says, the sweetest woman in the world can be the meanest woman in the world if you make her that way. So there are the women out here who do literally run into that ain't shit dude. So we'll just get on the tip right now that the dude ain't shit. So in that, you'll find a level of manipulation to whereas this guy is not looking for marriage. He's just out here looking for a moment, a whole bunch of moments if possible. And if he finds a woman who will give that to him, then he will either stay with her and continue to use her for that, or she will be one of many that he goes to. Therefore, enticing manipulation. Now, whether or not he's handsome, again, that remains to be seen if we're not talking strictly about the halo effect. If we're just talking about straight manipulation, there's going to be some type of bartering that goes along. Remember what we talked about just a moment ago about beauty being in the eye of the beholder? Mm-hmm. So if this girl is an acquired taste, or let's reverse that. Let's say that he's an acquired taste, but he's still tall. He's got a certain amount of cash that he spends, and people have seen him spend it. He's got a decent house. They know where he works. So yeah, he may not be the most attractive dude out there, but he can talk his game right that he may get in with someone. And if he happens to find that good girl who's also attractive, never really done anything to anybody, then yes, she could be an unwilling participant. But again, it goes back to, as you're asking, a level of attraction, and also whether or not he himself intends to treat her right.
Yeah, I completely agree because, a lot of times, yeah, when I have these conversations, because they would say that, a woman, they don't, I guess, like men don't find women like interesting, and women are like this, women are like that, and of course, like, I'll push back, not not every single time, but
Right.
just when I feel like that they're sort of they're being unfair, and so to me, I feel like you could always find an average woman. Not every woman is like how they say women are like. I don't think the average woman is a 3 or 4 or has a high body count. Do you what do you think about that? Do you feel like the average woman is a 3 or 4?
If the average woman is average, that means that if you think about it, this is what kills me when people make statements, but they don't look at how it comes out. Keep this in mind. If you ever hear me say it now, you're going to hear me say it in the future. The proof is in the output. So therefore, if you're asking, is an average woman a 3 or 4, think about what average is. Average is just that, meaning that they don't date a lot. They don't sleep with a lot of people. Let's say an average person may go out on a date once every 2 months. So in the span of 10 months, this person has only been out 5 times. And in that time that they've been out, they may have kissed a couple of folks, or they maybe have not even done that. Maybe they might have had sex once. So if you look at that standpoint here, no, you can't say that the average woman is a 3 or 4, especially if she's only dating or going out on a date once every couple of months. And even then, there's no guarantee that there's going to be sex. So what you're looking at now, I'm sorry, go ahead, Zyrex.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is that if you're talking with with people who have a hypersexualized sense of relationships, then yes, everybody they see is going to be a 304 because that's just the mentality they have, maybe because of their hypersexualized behavior. So now we're talking projection for the most part. But if you would ask me, no, I don't think the average girl is a 304. Now, if you have someone who is on the scale of maybe a 6 or higher, now because of their attraction, they're getting more people who are coming to them looking for time out. Now, obviously, we know that if I'm coming to a girl, if somebody's coming to you, yes, eventually I want sex from you. But in order for me to get that, I've got to go through the 5 stages I think I mentioned before that you may have been on with Nino and a few other folks. So I talked about the 5-step sensory dating approach, which is you've got to first and foremost be appealing to someone, no matter what anyone says about, oh, look at what he is as far as a good person. Oh, what about his heart? What about his character? None of that means a damn thing unless this guy is somebody you see yourself like lying in the bed with and waking up next to. Am I right or wrong?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So right there, everything else is out the window. I don't give a damn about a woman talking about his heart, about his character, or his personality. Doesn't mean a thing unless she can imagine waking up in the bed next to him. All right, so appearance is always going to be on board. There's no way that you can see a guy sitting over at the bar and go, oh, I love his character. Look at his personality. You can't see any of that. What you will see but all jokes aside, but that's what you're going to see first and foremost. You're going to see him physically. And then the next thing that he has to get past is now sound. So sight has been covered. You find him attractive because you like what you're looking at. Now it gets to be the sounds. Hey, Zyrex, how you doing? My name is John Henry. Now, I'm too old to be bashful, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask you, so what's the possibility of us getting out of here and let's move someplace else so we can have a different type of conversation? Because you look like you may want to do more than just sit around. I'm not saying it's going to be a sexual thing, but let's just say that if I'm still here talking to you right now, you may have an interest that I can show you. What do you say? And boom, there you go. And your response will determine what happens of getting to the next stage. Oh, go ahead. I'm just dropping that piece off there.
Oh no, go ahead. You said there's 5, and so you said appearance is 1, sounds,
All right.
or
Sounds is
yeah,
next.
sound is number 2.
So what I'm saying is that, if a guy walked up and mentioned that to you, would you be interested enough to see what else comes next? Is what I was alluding to.
Right.
All right. So
which I agree.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I said which I agree. I think I've heard people say well, yeah, I've heard a lot of women say oh, I was ready to sleep with them just right off of looks, but then he had to open his mouth and then no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go home with you. Like I've heard women say that.
Yeah. So you can talk yourself out of it as quick as you can talk yourself into it. But here's the thing now. Mm-hmm. So there's the appearance, there's a talk, but then sometimes this will get you in trouble. If you can't have a decent smile and you've got picket fence action going on, okay, that's going to cut it off. All right, that's going to do, I didn't like his smile. Now, one thing I ended up doing, and I think, who was it? Was it Albert? I forget what the brother's name is on Hamp's channel, but he said, shout out to John Henry and his veneers. I said, no, man, these aren't veneers. These are my teeth. These are my teeth. The only thing I did was I used to have a little bit of space in between my teeth. So I always had food in there. So a couple years ago, I went out and bought some Invisalign to get that space out of there because there's nothing worse than waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and having dinner again. Ew, yeah, that's nasty. But yuck, right? So anyway, the thing is that, when women say, oh, he started talking, I had to go, it's either because she didn't like his smile, he had bad breath, or whatever he was saying just wasn't working for her. All right, so sight and sound, you got to get past those. Now, if you get past that and you still have her attention, now we have to get past smell. Now, again, this goes back to you better not have bad breath. But if you get past the first two and you're talking smell, you need to make sure that you have some type of cologne or some type of fragrance that's going to capture her attention, to keep the mood going for the most part. Now, as I mentioned before, I like a lot of oils from Dubai. So that's what I'll pay, maybe $300 bucks for a bottle. But I'm going to be sparing about that because I don't want to use it for just anything and everything. But sometimes if I buy two of those, I'll use it when I go to the gym, go get a hamburger. So because you never know what's going to happen, who you bump into. But nonetheless, you got to make sure that you've got your smell on point, just like everything else. It's pretty much about your whole entire appearance. Now, there's not too often when you see that I do my lives that I'll get too dressed up because I realize at some point in time, man, now I got to take this off, take it to dry cleaners. Now I'm not going to waste my clothes just for a live stream. Maybe occasionally or so. But when I walk outside the house, I'll get done up for the most part. I want to make sure that I'm presenting something. That means that my appearance, make sure you got your hair, got your beard taken care of, smile, no food in it. It's a sight. Again, sound, hey, how you doing? And you generally can tell if someone is interested. Oh, I like your cologne. Okay, that's a conversation piece. Now, my thing is that I have to look at who's telling me that. If I think you're attractive, well, I thank you. I tell you what, let me get a little bit closer. What do you think now? Does it change anything? By the way, I'm John Henry. Boom, I roll into it. Now, for someone that I'm not going to show interest to, thank you. It's so-and-so. And I'll go about my business so as I don't give appearance that, hey, we can do something else. Now, this works for me or works against me also. I can also say, hey, I like what you're wearing. Oh, yes, thank you. It's so-and-so. And she'll go about her business. Okay, I'm not what she's interested in. She'll go about my business. But still, sight, sound, smell. Now, if I get past those first three, that means at some point in time, we have already been on a date, or maybe we might be on a date right now. But I've got to make sure those first three hurdles are covered before I actually get any time with you. Now, let's say we've been out a few times, sight, sound, smell. And we've gone out and maybe I've bought food. All right. So there is the fourth element, taste. But I'm not really talking about if I go out and buy you a meal. The fourth element, or the fourth step, which is taste, I'm not talking about taking you out to eat. I may have taken you out to eat. So it's like, oh, okay, this tastes good, John. And I tell you, yeah, it tastes all right, but I think I do a better job. Why don't I have you come over to my place and I'll make dinner for you? So you come over, I make dinner, I knock it out of the park. Hey, we're good. So now if you tell me, oh, wow, this is excellent, you could be lying or you could be telling the truth. But if you're coming back for seconds, or if I'm noticing that you're eating it and you're, oh, wow, this is great. Compliments, and I can see that my food is there, I've killed the fourth step. Now, right then and there, we're sitting on that last one, which is touch. Now, that is where it comes down to your choice. Again, it's always your choice when we get to that point that we've gone past sight, sound, smell, taste. Touch is the last effect here. And that's only going to come if it's the female's prerogative, if she's been impressed by the first four stages. So I'll go ahead and drop it off right there. Do you have any questions at this point?
No, 5 senses. I'm following along. Yes, and I agree.
And if we get to that last step, I'm sorry, go ahead, Zyrex.
No, I was just saying I'm like a person to press a breakdown, but go ahead.
So this is the breakdown on how it works here. You get to that fifth stage, which is touch. That means that we've gone past everything else. We get to this point right now to whereas you either decide that moment right then and there after dinner, or maybe we do another date where I take you out, or I come back to your place, you cook for me. But nonetheless, once we get past that taste part, as soon as we get to touch, now we have changed the parameters of what's going on. We've been messing, so to speak. We've been talking, we've shown interest. But the minute that we now start having sex, the question now becomes, is this going to be the one and only time, or is there going to be more? Now, remember the question you asked about how much will a guy put up with with a girl,
Mhm.
if I've seen that you have not been what I would call difficult, problematic, but you've been engaging in the conversation that I've had with you, and you've even made some suggestions that, okay, yeah, I can see myself doing this with you. And we do that. And then we get to the point where, there's slide in that you're presenting to me. Hell, I might be sticking around depending upon what happens. But if you have been difficult, mouthy, contentious, adversarial, no matter what I do, it's never good enough. Yeah, this tastes good, but I had a friend one time who used to make it this way, and he would do this. Yeah, his tasted a lot better. Or yeah, his really had me going back for second and thirds. You're being difficult, but if I'm still at that point, you've got some type of interest in me. I just tell myself, just shut up, just shut up. We're gonna get there, and boom, she does give it to me. Yo, I'm done. I'm out. I got what I wanted. But do you see the two approaches?
Yes.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I do. Just one more question. It's what
Ask
do you
away.
what do you think? You know, I'm gonna sort of compare. Well, let's see. What do you think is the biggest problem that men are facing when it comes to the dating scene, in your opinion?
Pick one. Pick a struggle, right? The biggest problem. It's a
Maybe
twofold. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's a twofold problem because we make problems for ourselves. The first problem that I see is this red pill nonsense. So that's already soured the boat to whereas it's almost like you have a vicious circle. The first problem is, as you mentioned, guys believing that the average woman is a 304. That is not true. So if you're already coming into the space where you believing that this girl is giving it up to everybody and everyone's sliding through, you've already got a problem to where a guy's not going to want to show any type of I don't want to say commitment too soon, but he's not going to put a lot of effort
Mhm.
into her because he's believing that somebody else is hitting. So there's a
Mhm.
level of suspicion and distrust. The other side of that is now another problem that guys are facing is going to be women who seem to have in their mind that, well, no, if you aren't doing this, then you're not good enough. It's this whole social media thing of he has to have this, he has to do this, he has to be capable of this. There's a lot of expectation that is on him that he has to provide. But at the same time, he's looking at her thinking that, why would I do this if I can't trust that I'm the only guy with you? I think it was something I said to Fatty, at least in the super chat earlier today. You can't be asking ladies for a ribbon in the sky if you're too busy bopping your head to Mary J. Blige, Take Me As I Am. But at the same token, as a guy, you can't think the worst of her if you're not giving her the opportunity to show that there's better that can come from it. So I would say the biggest problem is already themselves, or well, I can't say us because or me, I'm not in this group because Top Cat and I talk about this all the time. The biggest problem are the young men themselves with this level of disdain or distrust they have going into the potential relationship. And that's because of this red pill philosophy.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Now, I would probably take shots from guys, but you know what? I'm 55, I'm grown, and I'm not bothered by this because I've had my level of dating success. But again, it is not the same marketplace that it was 25 some odd years ago. So the navigation that I'm seeing from young men and women now, it's not within the same spectrum. Now, the whole purpose of my space that you're in right now is to
Mhm.
give this type of information to folks if they ask. Now, unbeknownst to a lot of people, I actually do have a background with, let's say, counseling or speaking with people because I have a social science background, bachelor's and master's in psychology. Finally, I've gotten myself into a possible program to finish up my doctorates.
Oh
So because
wow.
of me having that background, I can have this conversation as best as I can, but the conversation is only going to work if whoever I'm speaking with is willing to be honest with me about what they're asking. And I'll go ahead and I'll share some of my own experiences as well, just to make sure I am making sense or providing a good baseline, if anything. I'm about the foundation. I'm not with this pickup artist nonsense. I'm not with this red pill deal. I'm none of that per se. Now, have I had my time listening to it and probably even living it? Yeah, I've been young before. However, the thing here with red pill is that what these guys are listening to is a distorted aspect of it. Red pill had nothing to do with looking at a woman's faults and then making it the primary topic to speak of. The whole aspect of red pill was shining a light on all of the status quo. It was not just one aspect of, oh, women just won't get this right. Women won't do this, because at the same time, men were not getting it right either. However, in the late 80s up into the 90s, it was more so a thing to whereas women were allowed to literally be sideways with the guy and it was accepted. That was the status quo at one particular point in time. Oh, you men are low down, you're dirty, you guys are no good, all you do is cheat. But what people don't realize in your age group, I can go back to the 50s and 60s. A lot of people in your age group don't realize there used to be the thing of the deceitful wife. And in the 50s and 60s, you would watch television shows or movies or whatnot, whereas the husband would get up, get his bag, drink his coffee, he'd go to work. And just as the wife was closing the front door, she was walking to the back door and letting another man in. Have you ever seen a television program presented in that form? Have you ever seen that before on television?
If you're talking about like, housewives and like their pool boy or like the milkman, or the mailman, yes.
All right, so yeah, that was a common thing to whereas it was always believed that the guy would come home early from lunch and catch his wife with somebody else. So that is crazy when I stop and think about how, oh, look how these people, all these men are, look at what you guys do. Just go back to the 50s and 60s. I'm like, you do realize that in the 50s and 60s, it was the wife portrayed just as much as the husband for cheating. But for some reason, it's forgotten about that. I don't even know when's the last time you may have thought about that thought that I've just mentioned.
Yes, I love being in the space, but then sometimes, yeah, I feel like I understand this is manosphere, and so of course they're going to focus more on men's concern. I'm not expecting men to shine a light on women's concerns and stuff like that. But what I typically have a problem with is when they sort of paint like all women with the same brush. I know they'll say it's not all, it's never 100%, but I feel like in a way they are. They'll see like a woman complain about she'll have a video complaining about something about her husband or something like that, and they'll go oh look, women are like this. This is biology. This is who she is. She's like this. And I feel like, yeah, that's like so unfair to pick women like that, because I feel like, if the space keeps doing that, then it's gonna, it'll definitely have like an effect on men to a point where they'll look at women like that, and then they're not gonna want to, be in relationships. And my whole, purpose of having conversation and just being in spaces like I want to promote, just happiness. I want people to get together to, have a family or and have kids and grow old together. Just and I guess whenever I go, oh, happy wife, happy life, they yeah, they'll push back on it and say that that's um no, that's not good. No happy wife, no happy life. And I'm like, oh, okay, because I feel like a happy wife, you know, um, that's not to say that a happy wife means a man has to do everything for the wife. I'm just coming from a point where if the wife is happy, then of course the family will be happy, because if she's happy, then she's gonna try do whatever within her powers to make sure that everybody is happy. So that's what I, mean by happy wife, happy life. But
Now,
like I get people have. Go ahead.
do you know where happy wife, happy life originated?
No, I don't.
Happy wife, happy life had nothing to do with a relationship. It was part of, I can't recall if it was a limerick or a statement that was inside of a 1909 or 1913. Um, it was a message of some sort or meeting. I'd have to go back and look at the actual origin because it's been so long since I thought about it. But happy wife, happy life had nothing to do with relationships. They couldn't have been any further from the two than they were. The reason why happy wife, happy life is what you know of it right now is because someone in the mid 50s put it into a song or some type of communication because happy wife, happy life. It just sounded neat.
Hmm.
It was cool. And therefore it was associated with marriage. Happy wife, happy life had nothing to do with a relationship.
Oh
Zero.
wow.
Yep, it was just a statement that that was commandeered. Now let's think about certain words that were commandeered. There was a time um, when I was young, you could still kind of say, "Hey, gay meaning happy." This is
Hmm.
like in the early 70s, but by the time the 80s rolled around, you couldn't say gay anymore because gay meant that it was a homosexual man. It's the
Hmm.
same way that in the mid 90s, you had this song by R. Kelly and Ron Isley called Down Low. And down low meant that you were out tipping around, you were creeping. So anyone who's from Generation X, when you hear down low stated or when you heard it, you know that, oh, somebody's out here messing around, they're tipping. But nowadays, what does down low mean to you, Zaret?
Well, well, I guess it depends on how you use it, right? Like when people go, oh, you know, it's well, like it's a secret. Like it's under, like you're supposed to. It's under wraps. You're not supposed to say anything on the down low. That's
That's what it used to mean. But overall, if you say down low to someone, it means that somebody is gay. That's what down low towards the end of the 90s started transitioning. I couldn't remember if it was Eric Jerome Dickey. I don't think it may not have been him, but there was a writer who had just came up and decided that down low just arbitrarily, oh, that means that this guy is actually is secretly gay. No, no, it's not. That means that he's out here tipping, or also known as the hush hush tip. There was a song that Little C's and Little Kim had back out in 97 and 98 that's called Keep It on the Hush. But Keep It on the Hush was synonymous with creeping or on the down low for the most part. Or if you remember TLC, So I Creep.
oh,
Yeah, all three of them meant the same thing, that you are on the down low, which is you were creeping, you're out here doing stuff. Hey, shh, just keep it on the hush. So again, going back to happy wife, happy life, someone just happened to commandeer that. Oh, that sounds like good. Well, no, for relationships, if you have a happy wife, you have a happy life. That's why you have a lot of guys who push back on that, because it was a term that was misappropriated, but now it's being taken to the fact that, well, if your wife is unhappy, then you're just not going to have a good life. Your home is going to be in disarray. Now, funny enough, when that term was commandeered, you saw it being worked into the aspects of home lives. So therefore, if mama's not happy, you hear, hey, everybody's going to suffer. So it was almost as if it was a thing of, you willed it into existence, that particular statement, that because of the fact, I believe happy wife, happy life, it became to, and I hate this word, it began to manifest and become an example of that. Now, again, just to say that I've said the M word, right? Manifest. That's nonsense. All right. No, if you want something, you have to put effort into getting there.
hmm
So that's all I'll say about that. But yes, happy wife, happy life. No, that was nothing that existed inside of marriage until I want to say the mid 50s, where someone just happened to throw that wrench and into relationships, particularly marriage, And that's how it came to be, which is why you see a guy's like, oh, I'm not doing that. Now, the reason for happy wife, happy life discord now is strictly because, oh, so I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm out here working, I'm providing, all for what? To make sure that she's got an easy life. Well, if you've asked this woman to marry you, you want to have her a life that does not have a disdain, discord in it. However, there's also a level of reciprocity that comes with it too. So I don't think I've ever said happy wife, happy life in the sense that when I was married, oh yeah, happy wife, happy life. I may have said that in passing, but oh no. I would not have expected that I'll do everything I can to keep my wife happy because my life will be happy. No, that means that now I'm putting all my effort into just ensuring her happiness and existence at home. What about mine? Because there's no guarantee that while I am putting, or they like to say pouring into her, there's nothing saying that she reciprocates and bring that back to me. For all they know, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that her life is soft, but in exchange, I'm not getting anything from it. So that again goes back to that red pill mentality that I don't want to put in any more than I need to if I'm not going to see anything in return. So the key thing here is reciprocity. I try and tell folks that if you're looking for a relationship, you need to make sure that you have to let go of your independence and focus on interdependence.
Mm-hmm.
That dispels the whole thing of happy wife, happy life, because now it becomes happy us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you would think that, it's like sometimes I feel like, it's like, does it even need to be said? But I guess, men are saying that apparently, it needs to be said because, women of today are not like women of yesterday. And so, they're saying the women of today are not, they're not appreciative. They're not, they're very entitled and they don't know what, reciprocity is. And so sometimes I find that hard to believe, but I mean, I'm not in the dating market, so I guess, I sort of do have to take them at their word. Do you believe so? Do you believe that, that the women of today are different than, way different than the women of yesterday, so-called yesterday, and,
Oh,
in a
yes.
good way or bad way?
Yes, in a bad way.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
there's no doubt that it is a level, there's a difference here. I'll put it this way. There was a time whereas if a guy wanted to take a girl out, you had to go home and meet her parents. Before you can even talk about picking her up, there wasn't this thing of that you could sit in the car and honk the horn and she come out of the house. No, you had to walk up to that door, knock on it, and then her dad opens it and then go through the scrutiny. So what is it that you expect of my daughter? You weren't trying to marry her, but still you did want to. Of course, the father knew what you wanted, but
Mm-hmm.
even as much as he hated that, he knew that he had to, at some point in time, let his daughter be responsible for some decisions. But the thing here is that when you did go out with her, depending upon the age, one of those two parents went with you. So you had a chaperone. So if you went someplace, either the mom or the dad was there to drop you off. I'll wait in the car, or I will actually walk around with you to make sure that no one got too handsy. But the more that he began to trust the guy that she was seeing, okay, I'll drop you off, give me a call, and I'll come pick you up. Or maybe the mother would pick him up. But there was this thing of, I don't want to say complete innocence, but there was an understanding that you didn't have to ask me out, but you did. So therefore, I'm going to show my appreciation because of you asking me out.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere along the way, I want to say it was like maybe the late to mid 80s, you start getting some type of change that was coming through. And that change started in the late 60s up into, let's say, starting around the mid 70s, where you had the sexual revolution. You had women's liberation that came in also. And then you had the birth control. So those three things right then and there changed the reality of what a lot of us saw in front of us. Again, if Top Cat were here, he can tell you better than I can, because I didn't really start doing a lot of dating until the mid to late 80s per se, because I was born in 1970. Top Cat was born, I want to say, in 56. So he has seen a whole lot of stuff change, and he can sit there and almost put his finger on exactly when the change occurred, which I can on a few things that occurred after me. But as far as the women themselves, well, you hear guys say, well, if you want a traditional man, then you need to be more of a traditional woman. However, those days are not coming back. Sexual revolution, the pill, and also women's lib took that away. So that it is not going back to that. The genie is not going back in the bottle. No, it's a done deal. However, what has gone forward now is that there was greater control that she had over her body. Now, there's a show that I've been meaning to do that I put on ice. I think I called it Patriarchy versus Her Choice. And the premise of that is that, the patriarchy has kept us down. You know, we couldn't have bank accounts. We couldn't own houses. We couldn't get apartments without a man's signature. We could not go to the bank or write a check. There were a lot of things that women were restricted from starting in the 60s, well, even before the 60s, but it became an issue through the 60s and 70s, where you had Fair Housing Acts, you had banking acts that were passed in order to give women greater autonomy. When women started getting greater autonomy, that's when you start seeing the change in relationships. So instead of her saying, I appreciate, or I'm not saying appreciate, but her showing appreciation by being able to go out with this guy, she can now go out to places and meet him there instead of having to be taken there by him. She can now cash her check from her job, and once she cashes her check, she can go ahead and drive herself to someplace. You know what? I'll meet you there. Oh, okay. So you got guys who come from the tradition of, I will be the one who picks you up. I will be the one who takes you there. I will be the one who takes you home, to, you want to meet me? Okay. Meet me where? Okay. You're going to pay for this? There's this thing that was called going Dutch. And going Dutch means that instead of me having to pay for my meal and her meal, we'll pay for our own meals. I'm sure you've heard that expression, right?
50-50, as they say.
Well, yeah, now I guess they've reclassed it where they call it 50-50, but before it was 50-50, and this 50-50 mindset existed, there was just a simple thing of, you know what, I'll just pay for mine and you pay for yours. Nobody had an issue with it. You could be still a somewhat traditional girl, to whereas, I may pay for my own stuff, I may do my own thing, but if I'm around a guy who is acting like the guy I want to be with, he will see that female. She will always be in that feminine space. But you had the others who realize, you know what, I can control my own sexuality. I don't have to worry about getting pregnant by having sex. Now, if I don't want to get pregnant, I can use the pill, or he can still put a condom on. But all these things started to become more of an issue in the 80s or so, because the music was also driving that. Again, I've made the statement that you had Madonna's Material Girl. If you remember the video, she's making it known, hey, I do what I want when I want, because this is the type of woman that I am. Then you had Gwen Guthrie. You got to have a JOB if you want to be with me, meaning that if you want any of my time, you need to make sure that your finances are okay. I don't want to be with some broke dude. Then you had Salt and Pepper coming towards the end with Independent Woman. You need me, but I don't need you. I wear the pants. So now you're seeing that music is more and more starting to buck up a little bit. Then you get into the mid 90s where you have Mary J's Take Me As I Am, meaning that, okay, I can say, or you can do whatever you want. I can say and do whatever I want. But in the end, hey, take me as I am, but don't take me at all, because I can find somebody else. Do you remember that movie that came out in 1992 that had Eddie Murphy and Robin Givens in, called Boomerang? Have you ever watched that?
No, I've never seen. No,
Right.
I've never seen it.
That is your homework assignment. If you can, look for it on Prime or look for it on Netflix. It's called Boomerang.
Mm.
Boomerang was that movie that I won't say it introduced the female dog, but it made it known to men that women run game also. See, we as men were comfortable with the idea that we're the only ones who've got our starting five. We got a girl for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And maybe we may have someone for the weekend. But the thing is that you want to be that girl who got the call out 3 times during the course of the week. Catch a Monday, catch a Wednesday, catch a Friday. Then you may have that odd day girl, one on Tuesday that you may kick it with, one on Thursday. But the one girl who knew it, she was the main one, is the one that you saw 3 days a week to include once on the weekend. And that's literally that's literally how we worked it out. Have you ever had that explained to you before?
No, no. But then I understand the concept.
Yeah, that was just how it used to run when guys used to think they were the only ones who had it like that. But then all of a sudden, after that movie Boomerang came out, the stuff started shifting. It's like she'd tell you, okay, yeah, I would let you come over, but I'm tired. I've got some things that I need to do. I'll get up with you later. Okay. So you may go a day or two without seeing her. You see her, let's say on a Wednesday. She swings by, breaks you off, and then boom, she jets out again. Then you may not see her until Saturday. But on Friday, you happen to be out someplace. Yeah, man, there's so and so I was kicking it with. Oh, really? Yeah. I saw her too. And then you guys get to talking and realize she's breaking on both of you, but you have no idea because that's how smooth women were with it. That's why you would hear guys say women are like cats, sneaky. You have no idea if this guy that she's kicking it with is your homeboy that you go out and shoot basketball with, pump some weight with, go out to the club and turn up a couple of glasses with. She could even walk down and sit in between you and the three of you have a conversation and never know that both of you are getting got by her. That's what's came to be of relationships in the mid 90s when women said, well, you know what? We can do it too. To which now you have some women on social media talking about, hey, girl, have your roster. But of course, the roster goes against the red pill concept of, hey, watch your body count.
Hmm.
I can say that in my days of triflingness, oh, I ran the numbers up. I would have been a mass murderer. I mean, that's how body count that I had back in the day. But I tapered myself off at some point in time when I realized that I wouldn't be any good for a relationship with anyone if I did not know how to focus on just one person. Because I woke up in a cold sweat one night because I was worried that I would not be able to be with just one woman because I was, I was a whoremonger. I'm not even gonna lie about it. I went a whole week at one point in time with a different woman. I realized, okay, let me go ahead and cool out for a minute. I think I have reached an apex here. So so again, traditional women, traditional men, no, women are not the same anymore. And a lot of that has to do with, as I said, birth control, women's lib, along with the sexual revolution.
And so, do you feel like most men want the traditional woman, or see, okay? I feel like men don't really care about traditionalism as much as they, claim to be. I think they just say that they want a traditional woman because, as you said, women before, birth control and sexual liberation, women are they were a certain, like a certain way. Like, yeah, they didn't say much. They put, they may have put up a lot, yeah, they cook, they clean. And so I think men just want those qualities. It's not so much as they want the traditional woman. Um, and I think that the average, I think they can still find that in today.
Now, in saying that, here's an analogy. I don't know. I may have heard Ali use this once before, but it's a popular analogy that everyone throws out here. So
Hmm.
yes, we'll say right now, men do want marriage. Now, there are also men who don't want marriage, who just want the sexual experience because the thrill of the hunt is the thing that
Hmm.
really gets us in trouble. We like hunting and chasing after you. And then after I catch you and get what I want, what's going to keep me there? Now, if I'm a guy who just likes the thrill of the hunt, I have run you down and got what I wanted, which was I've taken the 3 weeks, the month or so to get you in bed. After I've done that, I've got no more use for you if that's the mentality I have. And that's why I tell folks that's a pickup artist mentality. Again, I don't deal with pickup artistry. I don't look at
Hmm.
trying to show guys how to catch women just for the purpose of having sex with them. Pickup artists usually end up in a constant web throughout their lifetime of entanglements and situationships.
Hmm.
Whereas the guy who is looking for a relationship has to understand you got to have some skin in the game. Now, you have got to be willing to risk it and to lose it all in order to get that payoff. But people who are afraid to put risk in it because they are afraid of losing will always make sure I've got that one card in my back pocket. Yeah, I may be kicking it with this girl, but if I tell her I care about her, she doesn't. Well, at least I know I have this one on the back ready to go. So men, when you hear this thing of, well, yeah, I want a traditional woman, a lot of that has to do with just the conversation of, well, that's what everyone talks about, a traditional woman. She can't have a high body count. She's got to be able to cook and clean and understand that, I'm the man. She's got to be on my page. I'm not on her program. She's on my program. Oh, stop this nonsense. The whole thing I talk about again is reciprocity. That's the whole
Hmm.
thing, reciprocity. But at the same time, before you even get to that type of exchange, there's got to be an understanding of what each other wants. So
Hmm.
for a man looking at a woman, what is he looking for? And again, I've said this on a whole bunch of shows the last, couple of weeks or so. So it may sound repetitive or it just may die on the vine. But again, a man looking for something in a woman, friendliness, fitness, wants her to be fertile. We're also talking about cooperation, agreement. All right, we want her to be agreeable. We want discretion. We want discernment. We also look for her to be nurturing. We also look for her to bring peace. Also forgot fitness as well. All right, so let's add that in there. So that is what a guy would be looking for from a woman. Now, I'm sure you've heard that before, and you get that a lot from the red pill space guys, but it's not just a red pill concept. That is something that goes across the entire spectrum. So that is not something that was created inside of red pill. That was something that was fished from other perspectives, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So that list that I just gave you, what men look for in women, is not exclusive to red pill. Now, as a woman looking for a man, I'll let you tell me first. What is it that you would find attractive in a man? I'm talking about the intangibles, nothing to do with his car, his money, his education, but just if you look at him, what is it that you would look for? And I will give you a list that I want you to keep with you.
Well, of course, I would want him to be, attractive to me. I'm not saying, like attractive as like to everybody, but then I want to be able to, I got to make sure that I'm attracted to him, right? And another thing that I like in a man is um, it, you know, personality as in like intelligence, a hardworking person, you know, um, someone like who has like just well with for me it's good family values, as in like he values family. Yeah, like I don't expect, I shouldn't say expect, but then um
You can expect because this is someone that you may consider that you want to spend the rest of your life with. So there's some expectation that you are allowed to have, provided that you make sure he understands and knows that.
well, I would want to make sure that he's good with kids, because of course if he's good with kids, then that sort of shows that's a sign that that he would be a good father if, say, we were to ever have kids, right? And so, yeah, make sure he's good with kids. He's patient, um, um, like I said, intelligent, a hardworking person, has values, and the number one is, of course, attractive.
Oh, that's number one in everybody's book. Remember what we
Yes.
talked about earlier? He's got to be someone that you can imagine yourself waking up
Mhm.
next to in the morning. That is always going to be the top key feature. Now, as a man, here's what, as men, what we should be bringing. Or there should be an element of focus, guidance, direction, discipline, security, stability, masculinity, fitness, knowledge, care, and protection. Do you want me to repeat that?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Focus, guidance, direction, discipline, security, stability, masculinity, fitness, knowledge, care, protection. So think that over for a second and let me know if there's anything in there that you would disagree with, that you would look for inside of a man. And again, those are intangibles that I'm speaking of. That should be something ingrained in him. That should be a part of him that he would look to provide for the woman that he's with. Do you have any questions about the list?
No, actually, that's I yeah, I definitely agree. Focus, guidance, direction, um, discipline, care, stability, fitness, knowledge, protection. Yes.
That is something that should be the opposite to everything we talked about as far as what a man would be looking for in a woman. So what I just given you is what a woman should be looking for in a man. But I think I had this conversation before. You may have been on it with Nino, but if not, this doesn't hurt to always do a refresher. Now, out of everything, you take, we'll say we take her peace. All right, that's the biggest thing. Her peace. We take the peace that she brings. I hope I mentioned that. Should have been one of the last things, but if not, peace is the primary thing we'll be taking from her. Now, if you take peace from her, you take his care and protection, you put that together, you have mutuality. And that's the thing that you should be shooting for, because mutuality also means that there is interdependence. There's not this thing of independence that one should be working with. You shouldn't have, for example, I've heard women say, oh, girl, I'm scared that if I go into this relationship, I'm going to lose my independence. Then why are you in here for this relationship? What are you here for? Independence means you do not need him. You do not
I
need to
agree.
be. Interdependence is what I never hear mentioned on any of these panels. I don't think I can recall once hearing anyone talk about interdependence being a part of the program. But if interdependence is there, that means that mutuality exists, because that's two people working together. But here's the
Mhm.
one thing that I always leave for last, because it is not just something that is incumbent upon the woman, and that is submission. Now, when I say that, I don't mean subservient. Now, when I say submission to you, what is it that you get from hearing that? Have the hackles in the back of your neck gone up?
Yeah.
All right. So if that's what you're taking from it, that means that that's a problem. And the reason why I say it's a problem, because you're not thinking of submission as positive. You're thinking negatively. There are two definitions of submission. You have positive submission, which means you have some control in the outcome. You have
Hmm.
the ability to help determine that. Then you have negative submission, which means that you didn't have a say so in the matter, and you were told that this is how it's going to be. You just need to accept it. Now, both of those definitions have nothing to do with subservient. Even the negative definition of submission. Subservient means that you do what somebody else wants. You are at their will. Well, I'm just loosely basing it, but that's what subservient is. Excuse me. Now, does that sound like submission that I just described in the first two examples? Positive or negative? Be
No,
honest.
not
All right. So that's what I want you to understand now. When a man or when the conversation of submission comes up, there's positive submission and negative submission. But remember, positive submission means that you have a choice. And that
Mhm.
goes to what I'm going to say next here, which is your submission is, well, your submission comes with a price. We'll put it that way. It comes with a price. The question is, can he afford that? But I'm saying submission comes with a price. Think of your submission as being trust,
Mhm.
meaning that he has to earn your trust. And in order for him to earn your trust, you need the trust in what he says he's going to do gets done. Meaning that you want to be able to look at this guy and see in this guy, this individual, you want to be able to see the husband that you want to be with. But in order for that to happen, he has to earn your trust. Therefore, you have to trust in him to do what he has to do or to do what he says he's going to say. Now, here's the interesting part that everybody overlooks. And I mentioned this in the show a couple of weeks ago, and I think Top Cat was there also. We were talking about a full show that we did about submission. But I can take this little bit and add this to here because this ties up some of what we're talking about. Do you realize that men have always submitted first? Think about it. Would you believe that men submit first and have always submitted first, but it just goes in one ear and right out the other? No one gives it any consideration.
Yes.
All
Not that I
right.
think about. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, where would that submission be?
Well, he how I think was it Steve Harvey that set this, women set the standard and then men would have to adhere to those standards. So in a way that's considered submission, right? Because he's the one that's having to do what I don't really want to say like do whatever she wants, but then yeah, he would have to do pretty much, whatever she wants in order to get with her and to be with her. So in a way that's submission. No?
So, no, that is a lap dog, and Steve Harvey's an idiot. I'll go ahead
Okay.
and say it right now. Yeah, that is a lap dog. Do you notice you said do whatever she wants? No, that is definitely a lap dog. I'll give you that a little bit here in a second here. So, when I'm talking about submission, we're talking about when that guy sees the girl that he wants to pursue. Now, I think I mentioned this before, and remember, I said that about an hour ago. Men chase, but women choose. However, if he is her type, she can be persuaded.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the thing here is that if he finds a woman that he wants to try to persuade, she's gonna have one request. You can't chase any other woman or talk to any other woman if you want my attention. You have to talk to just me. And I know
Oh,
you've done it. So therefore,
okay.
when I approach her and I let it be known, hey girl, I'm interested in you. So what can we do to extend this conversation between us? Because I want to do more than just have a conversation with you right now. When are you free? Let's get together. Let's check the town out. Let's check out something, but let's make sure we get past this moment. Okay, we can do that, but if you're gonna talk to me, it's gonna be just me. You can't talk to any other woman. And if he is serious about her, his answer is gonna be okay, because he's interested. Is that or is that not an act of submission?
Yes.
Boom. My work is done here. So basically, right then and there, the man always submits first. Can we agree to that?
Yes.
So
Most
tell me,
definitely.
why is it such a problem when it gets down to putting the ring on her finger? Whereas when the guy is looking for her submission, oh, I ain't doing all that. No, I can't be doing that. No, no. We need to, maybe you can phrase that better. Why is there such pushback? But yet his submission comes and goes just like that without even that. There is no pushback, because in order for us to pursue you, we have to agree to that. And all submission is is agreeing to the will or act from another person. Now, if you want to make it harsh, you can say agreeing to the dominance and superiority of someone else, but we know that's not going to fly, right? See,
Right.
I don't even have to even see to hear the silence. Like, but again, submission is positive and it's negative. We're talking positive submission, where again, you have a say so in that, you control that. But before you get all, bent up in the face and everything about submission, remember, he submitted first. And he did that without a shot, a whimper, or a scream. Because the fact, if he felt that you were worth it, well, you can't talk to any other woman except me. Okay, I can do that for the possibility and the potential of what comes next. There was no argument when he submitted. Yeah, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Go ahead. Y'all should be so ashamed of yourselves. So, do you have a statement that you'd like to add to that?
Uh, you're right. Thank you. I think the reason why women, we get bent out of shape whenever we hear the word submission because of, a lot of men in this space. I think maybe it's the way they said it, um, or maybe they might have, meant it in a sort of in a controlling kind of way, like, like, no, you're supposed to, get on my program. No, I tell you what to do. I tell you, when to do this. Get back in the kitchen. And so, because you hear this, especially if you're online a lot, you hear this all the time, and then therefore you, um, instead of focusing on the positive, the word yes, submission, it they tend to, whenever they hear the word submission, they think of the negative um, part of that word. So I I
Shame, shame, shame. See, again, that's what my space exists for. So you can get the actual definition and get a meaning from it. All right. I go back quite a few years between Top Cat and myself. And when you put Chicago Real in it, you've got almost 120 plus years of relationships that we can speak from. But again, Rilla and I are Gen X, and you've got Top Cat, who is the last, baby boom for the most part. So you've got different waves of life that we've all been a part of in certain areas in time that have been key and specific, that has determined the output in what you live in right now. We were there. We've seen changes.
Mhm.
We can speak to the point of where we saw that the tide was starting to shift. But yes, when it comes to submission, men always submit first, but no one thinks of it that way. So the next time the conversation of submission comes up, you tell them John Henry said that, and then watch how, oh no, I don't submit. Men don't submit. Yeah, you do. You do. You may not like it, but yeah, you do. So,
Definitely, I would definitely credit you.
all right. Anything else that you may want to throw here? Again,
No, that will be it for tonight. I don't want to keep you any longer.
oh, all right. Well, I appreciate you for jumping up here because, again, the space exists to have that conversation. We've got to have somewhere where us older folks can drop this knowledge for you guys, because if some of you don't open books or anything else, at least you can click on a link and open up this show here and you can find this information available. I need to get better at making my clips because I think what we've discussed here, I need to clip up. So I'm going to make that a thing on my to-do list to clip this conversation aspects of it, because again, the whole thing of submission is hysterical to watch when it finally goes off. Oh wow, you guys do that. Oh wow, you've always submitted. Yes, we have. But take that along with you, and that'll be something. Again, if I do this late night or a little bit earlier, let me know and we'll come up, we'll have the conversations again. All right.
Okay.
All right. Any
We'll
last
definitely
words
do.
you have?
No, that'll be it. Thank you so much, Sean, for having the conversation. I love having conversations, especially online, and I like learning from other people. So thank you so much.
Hey,
I
not a
really
problem.
appreciate it.
Dropping.
Well, you have a good night, John. Thank you.
You too, Zyrex. Come back anytime, all right?
I will.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right. That was an excellent exchange. Didn't expect to do that, but I'm glad to do that when the opportunity presents itself. So, people keep in mind here, we started with beauty, entice, manipulation. I gave a couple of examples. And then Zyrex came up here and asked something a little bit more in depth about manipulation, about relationships, and about the people involved inside of said relationships. So it all ties in together. Well, we're at that point in time. I've been here for 2 hours, didn't expect to be here this long, but you know what? It was worth it, and it always should be. So find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what we've got going on over here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do. And subscribe if this is what you're looking for. As always, thank you for joining me for the conversation. John Henry out. Till next time.